This is SAM Module 2, the textbook project. So it tells us to open up Word ILWD 2-1, which is this. And of course, the book is not going to have your name in it. And it tells us to save it as Tech Jobs. Since I've already done this, I'm going to choose Tech Jobs, and then I'm going to put a 02 in there. And we're good to go now. So it tells us right away to go to the Review tab. And this markup here is what you want to change to all markup. If I choose no markup, then it gets rid of all the comments and things of that nature. So let's go and choose all markup. And so it tells us here is the display for view, and it wants us to choose all markup, which I'm doing. Then we're going to select the word sector in the title, which is right here. And it wants us to add a comment. So I can add a comment from the mini toolbar. If you don't have a mini toolbar for some reason, choose new comment here. And notice that this is red because this means it's me in here. So I'm going to click the all markup in here, and it tells us this title is approved for the web team. And I believe it wants a period. And yes, it does. So then it tells us click Dawn's first comment in here and click on the reply. So when you put your mouse over it, notice that it puts the box there. So I'm going to click on reply. And it wants me to put, I am compiling a list. And I believe it wants a period there as well. Then go to Dawn's second comment, that's great, and click the delete. So we're going to make this disappear here. Now there is no delete here. So what you have to do is go up here and choose delete. Click after list and I am compiling a list, and then we're going to add some more text to it. So I'm just going to click here and I will send it to you. I will send it to you. And a period. Good job. There, let's go on. Click Dawn's comment balloon with please resolve in here. So please add salutations. Resolves means obviously it's resolved. So if you click on resolve and you go, oh, I did the wrong one, just click on reopen. So now we want to resolve it. So we're good there. And click all markup in the tracking group and choose none. So that will get rid of all these things in here. So let's choose no markup so we don't have to see it. And that takes care of this. So now I'm going to find and replace. And there's an issue with this compared to what the book says. Microsoft did an update a little while ago and changed a few things. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. So we're going to go to Control Home, and I am going to work in page width, even though it says to work in 120%. I don't like it. I'm working in page width. You can work in whatever you want. So we want to go into the Replace button, and then we're going to do More. So here is the Replace on the Home button. And a shortcut for it, I believe, is Control H. So I'm going to try Control H and see if my memory is as good as I hope it is. And it is. Or you can just do it. So now, right now, this is what you're going to see when you normally do it. So I'm going to click on More. And it wants us to match the case. So first thing it wants us to put in is, I believe, let's see, find the text talent and replace it with skill. And replace it with skill. So then it says replace all. Now, the importance of match case is if it finds a word with a capital T, it'll knock it out. So it's got to be exactly the same. And I believe it wants to, in the replace box, match case box is selected, and replace all. Be very careful about replace all because you may get something that you don't expect. So it did 8 replacements. I'm so excited. And then we want to click the find button in the editing app. So we're going to close this. And find is Control F, but I'll click on find here. And it's a little bit different. So now it wants us the word replace talent with skill. Click the find, and it's obviously going to not be there anymore in the document. So now we're going to type in the word talent with a capital T. And notice that it found it 2 times in here. And then says close it. So it did not replace anything with a capital T. And that takes care of that. In it, one of the things it talks about is navigating in the go-to. So if you hit F5, you're going to see all kinds. You can go to a specific page. I use it for page and sometimes comments, or rather footnotes. So why that's important is if you have like an 80-page document, just hitting F5 and going to page 80 is obviously much, 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 much easier. All right, spelling and grammar check. A shortcut is you can right-click in here and you can get things changed. So let's go in the Chevron in the second body paragraph. Here at Chevron. Now the reason why it's not red for me is because I've done this before and choose ignore. So it's in this document here. So I'm going to right-click and I would choose ignore all in there. In other words, if I had this red line, notice I have the ignore all. But because I've already done this, that's why it's not showing up as red. So it thinks it's misspelled, but it's really not. So we're clicking Control Home. Then we're going to the Review tab. I'll just click over here. And we're going to do spelling and check. A shortcut for that is F7. Now notice it doesn't say spelling, it says editor, but you can just click on F7. It does more than spell check. So here it's got spelling, it's got saying that there's no grammar. So let's see what we have for spelling. So it obviously has innovations in here. And I'm getting a little ahead of the thing, I'm just doing this by memory. So you're just going to have to remember this is a little bit different than you might have been used to before. So click Innovations in the selection box here. And we want to change it to this. And then notice we have a duplicated word. So the option is to delete the duplicated word. And that's all that there is. Now, we have a problem because it's going to say click long-term in the selection box. Well, it didn't find long-term in here. So it's not going to find long-term in yours. So what you're going to need to do as soon as I can find long-term, and if you can't remember where it is, just do Control F and type on long. So I'm not seeing, I don't remember where it is because I don't see it in here. So I will go and hit Control F. I'm going to close this first. I'm going to hit Control F, and I'm going to type in long. And there's long. So I'm going to manually put this in. So you want to make sure that you do that so you don't get marked off over here. All right, so that takes care of that. Questions on anything that relate to this, I'll answer. But if it's something from before, I'll answer it as soon as I get done with this. So that takes care of long term. Click on ignore once and we're good in here. So now let's click on OK and Control Home. Let me close this. And that takes care of this one over here. And it talks about smart text and autocorrect. I'm going to do a separate segment on autocorrect because you'll really like it. So now we're going to find synonyms and word count. So we're going to select whizzes in the third line of the second paragraph. So wherever whizzes is, third line of the second paragraph. There it is. So I'm going to right-click here. And you can also choose the source up here. I'm too lazy to do that. I'm going to right-click and actually have you do it in the next one. And go to synonyms and choose the source. And then it wants us to choose, let's see what word it wants us to choose. Relevant. So you find relevant. And once you find relevant, which I'm not seeing, but it's in here somewhere. Unless I'm reading ahead of where I need to read ahead. Oh, experts is what it wants. So here's experts. So what I need to do is do the down arrow and click insert. And then it wants us to do relevant in the fourth line of the second paragraph. And we're going to use synonyms. So I'm going to right click and use synonyms. And here is pertinent. So select the 3 paragraphs in the body text under career growth. So that's this here. And it wants us to click the word count button in the proofing group. So we can, if you have it down here, you can click on that. That's an option which I can show you how to get. So we're going to go to the proofing group and we're going to choose word count. And it brings up the same stuff as here. It gives you all these different things, include text box, footnotes, and endnotes. So we're going to close this. So it tells you how many pages, how many words, how many characters, and all kinds of stuff that I know you won't be able to sleep without knowing. So we're going to close it, and we're going to save the document. And that takes care of that. Changing line spacing and indents. Now, if you hit the tab key, which is one of the things you're going to have to do, and it doesn't indent, it actually puts in a tab. That's a setting in preferences, so I can show you at another time how to fix that in here. So left indent is where everything is indented on the left, whatever you decide to do. First line indent just does the first line. A right indent does everything from the right, and a hanging indent is the first line is flush left and everything else is indented. Kind of looks a little bit like a meat cleaver. So we want us to do Control A, which is a shortcut to select the entire document. And then it wants us to go into the spacing arrow in the paragraph group, which is right here. And choose 2. If you don't want to go to that, just hit Control 2. That's a shortcut for it. And that does the same thing. So either way is fine. Now we want to insert the insertion point in the first body of the paragraph under title. Now I don't need to select it because the spacing is going to work for the entire paragraph. So I'm just going to click here and 1.15. And then the next paragraphs do the same thing. So I'm going to click here and hit F4, click here and hit F4. Notice it repeated the very last thing that I did. Place the insertion point in the second body paragraph and drag the first line indent. So this is the second paragraph. Actually, I probably missed the first one. Click before job and hit the tab key. And notice that it created a first line indent. So you can see that from the ruler. Now we're going to do the same thing and click first line indent. You can also do by clicking on paragraph, and here's your indents, and you could just use first line hanging or none in here. Here's your left and right. So you can do that however way you want to do it. So now we're going to, let's see. We've done the dragging. The first line, we're going to insert the insertion point. We have to do a hanging indent. So we're going to click here. And you have to get this little up triangle in here. And make sure that it's overhanging indent. I always have an issue with that. So what I always do is choose paragraph. I'll change this to hanging. And it'll automatically go to 0.5. So again, however way you want to do it, that's up to you. And notice that the first line is to the left and everything else is indented by ½ inch. Then we're going to put the insertion point in the first body paragraph, and we're going to choose spacing. So if I go into layout, notice that I have after a point. So it's going to put a little space between in here. So we're going to go to the spacing here, and we're going to remove space after the paragraph. And then says save our changes. And now we're going to apply some styles to the text. So we're Control Home. In the text sector, select the title, career growth in the text sector. And we're going to go to styles. Let's see what we're going to do. The styles. See, these are all the styles here that you can do. And I think it wants you to choose title. So we're going to click on title here. And the title size is applied to the selected text. All other paragraphs are formatted with normal. Now we're going to select Applications Developer. And it wants us to do heading 1. So that takes care of that one. And it tells us to apply the heading 1 style to each bolded heading document. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit F4 for each one. Well, that did not work. So I'm going to apply the heading here. And I'm going to double click the format painter so I don't have to mess with it. Okay, so that takes care of that. And then we're talking about indents. Scroll to the top of the document. Oops. Undo is your friend. Scroll to the top of the document, and we're going to click in a paragraph, and it talks about indents and spacing in here. So I don't think it wants you to do anything, but this is what I was telling you about. So you can do all kinds of stuff from in here. Click OK to close the paragraph. Right-click heading 1 in the styles group. So let me see if I need to select something in here. Click OK in here. Point to the first body paragraph. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click normal in here. And we're going to update to selection. So if I right-click, so that anything that's normal is going to now change to exactly the way this is done. So notice that it changed everything here. So that's a very quick way of doing things like that. All right, so now we're going to right-click heading 1 and we're going to choose Modify. Now this is very important. Make sure if you modify a heading, make sure that you choose Modified based on, change it to No Style, because that will mess everything up. So make sure that you do that. So we have No Style, then click OK. And then we're going to do the same thing with the style for the title. So we're going to right click and we're going to choose Modify and we're going to base it on No Style. So then we don't have anything affecting us from the normal. So we did that. select Career Growth Title, wherever that is. And we need to increase the font size by 1 time. And then we're going to click the font arrow, which, let's see, want blue accent 1 darker. So I believe that's this one here, darker 25%. And click the line spacing arrow and add space after the paragraph. So if you go in the layout, you can see it added 12 points in there. So then we're going to deselect the text. So we're done here. Everything looks pretty good. So now we're going to insert page numbers and page breaks in here. Pretty easy. So there's 2 different types of page breaks, actually 3 that you're going to really need to know. A manual page break, a section page break, and a column break in here. So we're going to talk about each one when the time is right. Talks about how to do a manual break. So Word inserts manual breaks when you need to. Scroll down to, let's see, where it wants us to do a manual break. So at the bottom of page 1. So this is the bottom of page 1. And we're going to click, we want to point just before customer service. And then we're going to click the layout and breaks button. And we're going to do a page break. A shortcut for that is Control Enter, which is going to want us to do that in the second one. So we're going to go to find the instruction. Scroll down to the insertion point before Intelligence Analyst, which is right here, and hit Control Enter. So that will do the same thing as what we did. A lot easier. Hit Control Home to go to the top. And then I will want us to insert a page number, and then it's going to want us to put it on the bottom. So we're going to insert, and we're not doing header and footer, though we could. We're going to choose page number, and we're going to do it at the bottom of the page. And it wants us, I think, plain number 2. So that takes, so notice it's got on the bottom, and the next page would be 2, and the following page would be 3. And we did plain number 2. Then we're going to double click the document text to get rid of it here. So we're actually in a footer. So that takes care of that. So we're going to press home, Control Home. And let's do, it wants us to do view and multiple pages. So that's what that works here. So let's go back to page width. And let's click on reading. And see, this is what like the reading looks like. So we're going to get rid of that and go back to normal. I'm going to get rid of the thesaurus. And that takes care of this. View multiple pages button. We've done that. It shows pages 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to do headers and footers, which button in the zoom, click on the insert button. So we're going to click on insert. And we're going to go to header and footer. Now, I normally tell everybody use edit header. But in this particular case, I believe it wants us to do a blank. So I'm going to click on blank. And we have a header here. So then let's see, with the page width button in here, click the insert header button, and then we're going to choose blank. Then it wants us to type in career growth in the text sector. And that tells us that it's going to be in there. Click the Home tab, click the font color, which is here. Click the center button and bottom border. So we want center, and we want to do a bottom border. And this will appear on every single page. So if we go down to the next page, you'll see the same thing. That takes care of that. Select the header text, but not the paragraph. Click the Home tab in the font color, but not the paragraph below it. So it doesn't want us to worry about this here for right now. We've taken care of that. Click the header and footer design tools and go to footer. So we need to be in header and footer, and here is go to footer. And now it wants us to format the page number. So select the page number field, and we're going to do go back to the home. We're going to go to the font and change that to blue. So that takes care of this. And we're going to close the header and footer. So I'm just going to, for in here already, I can just click on close header and footer. So that takes care of this. So we're going to go to Control Home. And we want to point over the header text at the top of page 1 and double click it here. So point over the header text and double click it to open up the header area. So we're right here. And that opens up the header area. And what we want to do is we want to do a different first page. What that means is don't show the header, and then because we're actually in header and footer and not either header or footer, it's going to affect both of them. So I'm going to click on different first page, and you should see it disappear. And notice that there's the bottom, there's no page number. But we have a page here with the header, and we have a page number there. So that takes care of that. And it wants us to go to View and Multiple Pages. And it's only showing 2 right now, but that might be the size that I have in here. But you can see that it all works out just fine. Okay, we're going to add footnotes and endnotes. Very easy. The difference between a footnote and an endnote is a footnote appears at the bottom of a page, and endnote appears at the end of the document. And it's very easy to confuse them. So we are in click 100%, so I'm going to do what it tells us to do. I'm going to click 100%. So I'm there. And it wants us to go into the reference tab, so it says click 100%, place insertion point at the end of the last body paragraph after demand, which is right here. And then it wants us to insert a footnote. So we're going to go to References, and be careful. This is Insert Endnote, and this is Next Foot. Insert Footnote is right here. So notice that it makes a little line here, and then it puts a number 1. So it tells us type job growth, and I believe growth is strong in Seattle, Austin, and Boston. Any period. So scroll up to the insertion point at the headings of Application Developer, which is right here. And then it wants me to insert a footnote that says Mobile Applications Developer. So insert footnote. And notice that the 1 became a 2 because this is before. So type in this position is often called Mobile Applications Developer. And let's see what it says in footnote 10. Okay, we're good there. And then we're going to place the insertion point under Applications Developer heading at the end of the paragraph. So it's right over here. then we're going to insert another footnote that's going to say, many hold a master's degree. And so now we have 1, 2, and 3. So now it wants us to click the launcher in the footnote group, which is here. And it says the number format in the change it to ABC. So here is the number format. We'll change it to ABC. And then I believe it's going to want to undo it. So notice that once I click on apply, it's going to change it to ABC. So let's go to page width. So now we have ABC in here. And then it wants us to undo. So we're back to 1, 2, 3. So control home. So let's click on control home. And it tells us to go to, we're going to be in references. Tells us to go to next footnote. So it just finds really the first footnote. Now it's hard to see, but it's actually blinking the insertion point before the 1. Then it wants us to go to next footnote again. And now we're before the 2. So what we need to do is wants us to hit the delete key in here. So you have to hit the delete key. And notice that now it's selected. Then hit the delete key again. Now notice what's going to happen to number 2. It's gone in there. So that takes care of that. And that is everything. So the next part of it is going to be insert citations. So we'll pick up on that separately. So citations are really easy to do. There's other ways to do it, but Word has a built-in one over there.